Alright, so this is a brief introduction to the CB projects. This one and that one. They're both 1978 CB400s. Obviously you can see we just pulled this engine out. It's sitting kind of back over there on that very structurally intact 5-gallon bucket. Got quite a mess going on because it was dark out, and because the owner of this bike before me, you can see over here, these bolts over here, none of them were what they should have been, because I have the little Honda, like the old school manual, and nothing was spec'd out the way it was supposed to be. You can see this was kind of at one point like a half-ass cafe racer project. Not a lot really put together on it. I need to rebuild these fork seals. They're starting to leak. This light is actually, it doubles as like a Jeep headlight. It's a nice light. This housing is probably the nicest part of the whole bike. It's by Motodemic. I love the housing. The guys who moved the bike down here, I think, actually dinged it up a little bit, whatever. You can see they also smashed, I think, this blinker. There's some cheap LEDs. This was some eBay light hardware, no big deal. It does have new updated like brake lines and like a kind of a cheap Asian brake caliper, mass cylinder. This is only a part right now because I took the 2 screws off to run the engine on that one. So the engine on this one, one of the bolts, here, I'll show you over here. This bolt right here sheared off, so it was rattling around in there, not causing any kind of niceness. And other than that, it was working pretty well. There's nothing really wrong with it. Only thing that's not really working on the other bike, the engine's in pretty good shape. The kickstart, for whatever reason, the spring's off it, so I'm gonna steal the spring off this, and I'll probably use the same clutch cover because the spring was out of that as well. This one, guy before me just destroyed it with. So I played with these cylinder heads a little bit. I had someone else try to mess around with it a little bit, and they didn't fix the issue. I only gave them, they only had it for a couple days. Weren't really making any progress before I enlisted, so I took the bike back so that it at least was in my possession. They siliconed all of this, obviously. Inside looks real not happy. So let's get that up real quick. Nah, it's bolted on the other side. I don't want to deal with it. The boot's relatively new. Let's see what else. This was pinned on there pretty well, so I actually didn't get it off, but clearly it wasn't necessary for the bike to run. This bike's also been sitting for a hot minute. These fork seals need to be redone. This is stock exhaust, stock CB400 engine. It's got obviously stock carbs, the little cheap gas line that came on the other bike that's on this one right now, some shitty little AirPods, nothing fancy. Wiring on this one is intact, and it's all original placement, but it is totally aged. I say it's intact. It's intact as far as like no one tried to modify the hell out of it. They did try to repair it with the cheapest fuses that I've ever seen, and obviously this does not work in place of a fuse box. This one has the only current battery, again stock exhaust, rear brake is whatever, all this rear hardware don't really care about. Kickstart on this one, well, works, but doesn't spring back up, obviously, so we're gonna have to play with that a little bit. This right here doesn't have any spring action, so that's on the inside right here. It's probably missing the spring, so that's whatever. Spark plugs on this one are good. This ignition, essentially the ignition coil, whatever you call it, or a bike equivalent, is out of whack. Got to replace a couple of gaskets here. One because I pulled this one off today to see what it was looking like on the inside. It's looking all right. Tachometer on this one is working down here. Up here, obviously this is kind of a cheaper little housing, but still nice housing. It's a similar style light. It's also a cheap light. This right here is a lot more aged from sun, being in Arizona. Original master cylinder. This thing, just not a lot to it. Not like it's not in great shape, so probably gonna have to It's just old. So I'm probably gonna have to replace some of that stuff with what I can find. Might find some new stuff. Stock handlebar, looks like whatever. I don't know why, for what reason, people start making cafe racers, they pull these choke lines off. I'm just gonna put it back on there until I really like refine the bike. And I don't know why you'd take it off, but they keep taking them off. On both these bikes that I bought, they were both missing the choke cables, so I don't know what's up with that. This one you can see has different ignition coils. There's no reason for that. I think they just slaved over some different ones. For the most part, I love the way this bike looks. Like, it's all black. It came with the black gas tank. I'm actually going to use the gray one that's right there. That seat is cheap, just garbage, but it's whatever. I don't know too much about how to clean up these chains, so I'm looking to either getting a new chain or figuring out how to clean this one up and like maintain it better. And yeah, brakes seem to work fine. They probably need like general servicing, but they work okay. They moved all the electrical components here underneath the seat, so you see you actually have a fuse box on this one. A lot of that stuff's intact. It's just kind of all over the place. Back here, the owner before me, obviously not the original owner, but the owner before me, prepping us this cheap little like brake and blinker setup. It does not work at all. Never had proper blinker function, so I have power to these. They just don't have a proper blinking function. I have to figure that out. Sorry, the sprinklers are going off, so I'll probably end this in a second. These are relatively new brake lines, or no, carburetor lines. They go to the gas up here. This one's in pretty good shape. You can't really tell from what you're looking at, but yeah. All right, I'll give you guys an update as I put it back together. Thanks, bye. Still on? Alright, well, that's probably the coolest thing I own right now. This little Milwaukee tower. Easily the most useful thing I could be running at the moment, but yeah. There you go, little brother. Never made a look of progress when I was home, but this took me somewhere between 1 and 2 hours. Got to pull that one out. It's gonna go right here. Ran that one today a whole bunch. It runs just fine. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna throw it up for you right now. You guys see my keys? They're on me. Cool. Keys are on me. Great. It's a little bit loud, so I can't run for very long. Battery's good. Why are these lights on? Okay. Whatever. Let's get a little bit of gas. Fucked with the idle a little bit today. It's actually working pretty well. It'll sit there and just kind of purr a little bit. It's got a bit of a ticking noise. I'm pretty certain right here there's an exhaust leak. Like I know there's an exhaust leak right here, so I gotta deal with that. Alright, you guys got I'll finish it tomorrow, but I gotta clean up all this nonsense. Later, little brother. How do you? That's actually the button doesn't turn off.